Chairman of our Democratic State Committee, Pat Lynch. Ladies and gentlemen, Congressman McCormick, Congressman Philbin, Congressman Burke, Senator Powers, Mr. Mayor, Mayor Hines, distinguished members of the state ticket, ladies and gentlemen, I first of all want to express my thanks for the warmest welcome in a long campaign. I'm delighted to be back. I'd like to have you meet my two sisters and sister-in-law who have together in the last 2 months campaigned in over 40 states, and since we started in the primaries in January, have spent far more time away from home than at home. My sister, Patricia Lawford from California, and her husband, Peter Lawford. Sister Eunice Shriver from Illinois. And the wife of my brother Teddy, who's our Western manager, this is Joan Kennedy. Congressman McDonald, ladies and gentlemen. Let me say that I am delighted to be here on the platform tonight with my distinguished running mates from this state, who I hope you will elect tomorrow, Tom O'Connor as United States Senator. We need a Democratic senator from Massachusetts who will vote for progressive legislation, and we have it in Senator O'Connor. Joe Ward, who I'm hopeful will be elected the governor of Massachusetts tomorrow. Continue a Democratic administration. The candidate for lieutenant governor and I are old friends. We served together in the Navy in the Pacific, and I hope he will be the next lieutenant governor, Edward McLaughlin. The candidate for attorney general has done an outstanding job. He is a nephew of our beloved friend John McCormick, and in his own right deserves to be reelected as the attorney general of the state of Massachusetts, Edward McCormick. Tom Buckley, who is an auditor and an orator, who of course will go back in office and lead us all. The candidate for state treasurer, John Driscoll, is one of the finest men I've ever met in public life, and I'm confident he's going to be elected tomorrow. And the candidate for Secretary of State, Kevin White, will also be elected by a large majority, I suggest. They and the Democratic members of Congress from this state, I'm confident, will be returned by a large margin tomorrow, and I ask your support of them. And when you have voted for all of them, jobs for men and women who want to work, the development of our resources, the symbolic feeling of a nation, the image the nation presents to the world, its power, prestige, and direction, all ultimately will come to rest upon the next President of the United States. this talk about prestige, about our position in the world, goes to the security of the United States. It does no good for this administration to lock polls up, taken of our position overseas, of the judgment that people have of us. All of us know the truth, and no amount of executive secrecy can hide it. We know that we're not as secure as we were a decade ago, or even 5 years ago. We know that there are great motions at work in the world which have not always reckoned with the position of the United States. New leaders, new countries, new movements. More and more in many of the countries whose favor we must seek, if we wish to maintain the balance of power on the side of freedom, the younger men and women who should be most attractive to us as a dynamic free society are beginning to look in another direction, to Castro in Latin America, to Congo and to Ghana and to Guinea in Africa, to communist China in Asia. The question is, what will it be by 1970? Will the balance of power be in our favor or that of the communists? Will the people of the world make a judgment that we are the ultimate winners, or will they make a cold, hard judgment that the ultimate winners of this power struggle will not be the United States in the cause of freedom, but will be our adversaries, and they will want to get right with them? I want them to be convinced that we are at work in this society as a serious, determined people, building in the United States the kind of society which can serve as an example to all those who wish to be free, but may not have determined that freedom represents the opportunity for them. That is the opportunity before us in the 60s. To be the great defender of freedom in a time when freedom is under attack and under test all over the globe. Thomas Paine said in the American Revolution, "The cause of America is the cause of all mankind." And now in the revolution of 1960, the cause of all mankind is the cause of America. The communist system gets its power not from Mr. Khrushchev. All the speeches and debates and arguments and finger-waving at Mr. Khrushchev. All the trips proposed to Eastern Europe by the Vice President. The trip proposed for former presidents to Russia, spreading goodwill. The whole struggle is far more serious than that. Who can be so ill-informed that he thinks the tensions of the power struggle will disappear by goodwill missions, by debates, by arguments? They will disappear, or they will be overcome only by what we do here. The Vice President of the United States says that he will go to Eastern Europe if he wins this election. I will go to Washington, D.C. For here is where the job must be done. The kind of society we build, the kind of power we generate, the kind of enthusiasm that we incite, all this will tell whether in the long run darkness or light overtakes the world. I welcome the opportunity to be engaged in this struggle as the chief arm of freedom. It is a proud privilege that we hold as citizens of this country. I welcome the opportunity, if elected, to serve as President of the United States, and if unsuccessful, to continue to serve in the Senate at a time when the role of Americans should be one of pride and satisfaction that history and their own choice has made it possible for them to be the defenders of freedom. And I want to make it clear that while I may downgrade the leadership we are promised for the future and the leadership we have had in the past, I have traveled this country from one end to another. I have spent many days in nearly every state. and I come back to Boston, Massachusetts with a stronger feeling of confidence, of hope, of knowledge of the vitality and energy of this society and our people than I could have ever had before. It is the best education for a candidate for the presidency. All the criticisms that are leveled at presidential campaigns, in my judgment, fade away against the knowledge which a potential president may have of the strength of this society of ours and its people. So I come here tonight. I thank you for your past support. I ask you to join us tomorrow. And most of all, I ask you to join us if we are successful. I ask you to join us in all the tomorrows yet to come in building America, moving America, picking this country of ours up and sending it into the 60s.